Yeah, you guys sailed awesome. Looked like you had such a clean contest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've prepared a few questions that I think that you...
Yeah, I've got, I'm Anna, by the way. I sent through a list of questions. I'm not sure if you had a scan over or not.
Yeah, I had a little brief, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah, all good. So yeah, I guess we can start with how much confidence you felt you had in the CTech gear, like pre-regatta versus after, obviously, given you had some hairy conditions.
Yeah, well, basically, we put the boat together in, I think it was, and we were very impressed, all of us. It was me, Sam, big fella, and the finishings and all the products were very good, like the details and everything. We were very impressed by, like, it was, we've never dealt with any of the CTech stuff before, so basically, you know, we sort of got all the weights and everything of all the other equipment, and it was good. We sort of did a lot of stiffness tests on all the gear, and yeah, we're very impressed with how light it was, the detail, and you know, the quality and the stiffness and everything was really good. So yeah, we're very impressed.
Yeah, I'll just dive into a bit of detail there, just for interest's sake. You had a broken forestay on the day that got cancelled. What happened there?
Yeah.
Is that anything to do with...
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so we've got nothing to do with basically what we did. We've changed the jib setup on our boat this year. We've sort of gone quite a low aspect jib. So we put all the sail area down low, and now this is on the second rig, and then we now, the tack's now on the stem of the front of the boat. So basically what we've done up the top, we've put like a little lock swage like they have on the actual main locks. I don't know if you know what they are. They're these little... So basically that clamps onto the forestay, and basically it was just... probably would have happened in any conditions. It was just lucky it happened. It was just a swage, and what I had, it clamped onto the wire, and the wire just snapped.
Yeah.
So it was just a coincidence. We were very fortunate it happened in the race that got abandoned, to be honest. But and then we ended up changing back to a more safer, like that way is a better way. You don't have the rope coming from,
Yeah, less windage, yeah.
But obviously it was the safety factor that snapped the forestay, so that was what caught it.
And you didn't end up using the dick?
What, sorry?
The dick, the product?
No, because, it wasn't relevant because our jib was all low aspect down low, so it didn't do anything.
Yep. Okay.
Obviously it came down to a little bit of boat handling and stuff with the conditions you had, but how do you feel like your boat speed compared across the series?
Yeah, we sort of got quicker. Originally Herman was going to drive the boat, and he got stuck overseas with work and couldn't end up doing it. So I got the call up just before the Nationals. I think it was ended. We put quite a bit of effort in the last sort of 6 weeks before it, and we obviously got quicker and quicker as I had a few issues. I tore my, so I was letting the team down a little bit, not sailing it, and we went out and just got quicker. We saw future experience and the way Tech 2 sort of sailed the boat. Learn a lot from them, learn a lot from how obviously the Kiwi sailed recently, and then added our sort of experience into that, and as we said, we got better and better, and the boat was going like a rocket ship by the end.
Yeah, looked like you were pretty dominant in both rigs.
Yeah.
And good range as well, especially in the second rig. There was a lighter race that was bare. I think it was an invite race. You were quite light on the two rig.
Yeah, we had sort of went out. I don't think that was the right rig for the day. I think we sort of made a mistake there, but it was good confidence builder to go out in that lighter stuff, and that's something we hadn't done enough. As I said, we sort of were quite late into the campaign, so we hadn't done enough of light air second rig stuff, and it was an opportunity for us to just go out there and give it a crack before the world started. So that was the main reason for that.
Yep. Yeah, that was an area that Honda was so good in. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Why that is. That those rigs tend to go really well across the range.
Yeah, I think that they're quite light is one thing. Like, we made a big effort on trying to get our boat to minimum weight. We actually ended up being a couple of kilos under and having to sail with correctors on the boat. With all the recent boats we've had over the last few years have been a little heavy. And a big factor, I think the rigs are as stiff as the other rigs, but we ended up working out they were 3 or 4 kilos lighter.
That's huge.
That also, that with the boom was lighter, same stiffness again. Spinnaker pole was stiffer, lighter. By the end, it all sort of adds up, and that was quite a big factor. We've always found that we thought Tech 2 was definitely a lot lighter than us last year, and I think it makes a big difference. I think now his boat's got heavier being a year later, and I think it made a big difference for us.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Ian said on his first comment to me after you set up the rigs that he thought that the big rig was pretty stiff and the 2 rig he thought was pretty good. But what's your thoughts after using them a bit more now?
Yeah, so they're definitely as stiff or maybe a little stiffer. And it's funny, you know how big the sails are now.
Yeah.
It's funny, when we actually started, I think the second rig was probably as big as the big rig now when I first started. To be honest, the sails have got bigger. When we were with the 7 every sort of year, I think I started off at 70 kilos when I started the skiffs as a body weight, and down we got close to 100. So the thing we used to be worried about, we were always confident uprange, but we were not very confident when it got real light in those easterly courses because we were quite a heavy crew. So we obviously built sails around our body weight every year and got bigger and bigger. And to support that, you needed stiffer rigs. You needed to be able to support the big sails. And obviously you guys, you've got it. As I said, that's the important thing right now is having stiff tips to support the big heads, and you guys can do that with a lower windage sort of package, and as I said, they're quite light. But as you said, we've got good range in the rig to go through the range. We've got I think you've got the same, don't you? You've got the winch system that we've got connects to the top stays and side stays. We've got sort of like a 2-to-1 ratio on that, and then once we've got the luff curve right on our mainsail, you can, we've got quite good range to go through the range in the rig, which is good.
Yeah. Why do you reckon Smeg struggled? They didn't seem to be on the pace.
I don't know. It was sort of one of those regattas for them. You can never fault Coco. He sort of, I think, lacked confidence a little bit, but I actually don't know. I don't know what he just, he had a few swims, I think. And
yeah, it doesn't help.
Dale, he just had one of those regattas, I think.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about race 5, because it was one of those races where it just seemed to be like absolute carnage down the bottom mark with a really, really difficult mark rounding, and everybody sort of capsized at once, and there was people doing granny tacks. And how was that for you as an experience, and how does it rate as the races that you've done in the JJs?
It was definitely fresh. I to be honest, I didn't think we were going to sail that day. Like, we got some forecasts from clouds over in from up in Wollongong, and he was like, "No chance you're racing today." We first got down there, we had gusts of 40 knots. No, what he's like, he's like, "You're going to get out there." And then I thought, so when we got out, it was fresh. It was 35 knots, and we obviously knew it was going to be survival. And they put a new marking because they didn't want us to go down to the bottom mark because there's been some crazy rain here for the last few weeks with all the floods, so the tide was absolutely ripping. So, we probably had another 1.5 knots of current with the fresh water trying to drain out the harbour. So the waves were quite big, but at that time of day it was actually lucky. It was a run-out tide, so it was quite flat water. Probably the quickest I've ever been on a skiff was then, because you had the tide as well, ripping you out the harbour with flat water. But we sort of had a big chat about it before the race, how we were going to come into that mark. We knew that mark was going to be quite a challenging spot, like it was where it was. We knew, you could probably pull off a 2-sail jibe in there because it was sort of in the lee a little bit. So we thought, the best thing is to get the chute off early, and then if we do swim, we don't have the sticker in the water. And then we knew we sort of planned where it was. We could get in there either granny, or if it was wide enough, because you got into it was a tiny little lee, we could get a 2-sail jibe in, which, both times we got there, we sort of went a little bit past the mark, knowing that we'd get into the lee, and then just did a jibe, and we were lucky. There was a few times, I think there was a bit of luck. We were lucky we were going upwind and the rest of the fleet was going downwind, I think, when some of the squalls came through. But, it was just about being safe that day and keeping the rig in the sky.
I don't think there's much luck there. Sounds well planned.
Well, do you enjoy that sort of sailing when it's like that, or are you just too scared?
It's not. It was actually funny. We sort of, the races before, there was times where we had a big lead and the day before, and we'd pull the throttle back a little bit, but then we didn't have a very good start. We had a bit of an issue, something on the boat, and our clock wasn't working, and we ended up starting in that race quite late. It was sort of like 20 seconds late, and we got to the top mark. I think we were fourth, and Matty was like, "What do we want to do? It's pretty windy here." And I said, "We're full noise, we got everything to get back into the front." So we pushed the boat pretty hard that first run, and then obviously that first mark, everyone sort of fell down in front of us, and then we could start to throttle back again and be a little bit safer. But we love that stuff. It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. It was good it was definitely good on the YouTube, watching that.
Yeah. Pretty hairy moments, but it was fun.
The Kiwis would have of course performed perfectly, not capsized, and it was easy looking at it on screen.
Tell us a bit about how you got into the skiff class and what's made you stay in it for so long.
It was a good group of people. I was very fortunate when I started. I came through the 29ers, and I actually ended up doing a lot of 49er sailing with Ewan McNichol, who was at the same time doing the 18s. He'd had a lot of experience by that time. He'd already won a 18-footer Worlds with Woody, actually, and I learned all the tricks of the trade from him, I guess, and I ended up winning a JJ's with him as a sheet hand, so I was very fortunate to. And then, obviously, I started a lot with Sam. We were doing a lot of match racing and stuff at the time, and Ian Murray gave us the opportunity and said, would you be interested in, we've got a 7 sponsorship that he was doing at the time with the Star for the Olympics, and he said they also want to do an 18-foot skiff program. And Dog was one of our coaches, Andrew Palfrey was one of our coaches in the match racing, and he sort of chose us and said, would you be interested in doing it? We think you guys would be a good fit for it. You've done some skiff sailing before, and you're young kids coming up, and we got a great opportunity with Channel 7. We did that for how many years it was, and you build a lot of friendships down at the skiff. A lot of these guys are my best mates, and it's just hard to sort of leave. They're all still doing it, and, it's just
that's how you end up like Woody. You were still doing it when you're 70.
Are there any ideas on the Nordic skiff that you'd like to try on your own?
We've got a few tricks that we've talked about. I don't know if I really want to let it out. That's more for next year, but I get in trouble if I let it out. But no, we're pretty happy with the package. A few little sail development stuff we'd like to do. I think Tech 2 had a bit of an edge on us downwind. I thought they so just a few developments with the spinnakers. There's some stuff we want to do. Technique as well, downwind. I think there's some stuff, but no, we're pretty happy at the moment with everything. It's okay, we can't complain. The boat's going pretty quick.
Yeah.
And we've got a good package at the moment, so we wouldn't change too much. Just a few little things, maybe with the sails, but rigs and everything, it's very similar.
Oh, we can't sell you a new big rig for next year. Same as Sean's. Same as Sean's.
Oh yeah, I would never say never. There's a few things we think we could be able to do, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
So why did you end up not being able to use the boom drum winch? Did you didn't?
No, we ended up using it. We had it. We ended up putting it in. Basically it's more a windage thing. It makes it a lot easier for Sam. He's only got one rope going in, all the internal stuff done inside. It's just the tidiest. To be honest, it's probably not a make or break thing, but it's just things that just make it easier, Just gives more room for Sam, less things for the spinnaker to get caught on, and it was pretty neat. It worked perfect, It was very easy to work. So it's just a little innovation we had, which was good. Big pillar design, it was good.
How do you think that CTech is placed within the 18-foot skiff class, and is there any like product developments that stand out to you?
Very, it's very good. I think that's you look at the work, the craftsmanship of all the stuffs, it's pretty neat. It was amazing. We sort of put the rig in once we got it done, and it basically went almost straight to the numbers, very straight out of the box. So, everything, as I said, like that, it's just the finishings. You don't get much better. We're very happy with the product.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it was a pretty windy and difficult regatta, and there sort of wasn't too many CTech breakages over the whole fleet. It was relatively reliable gear kind of thing.
Oh, totally. Yeah, it was. As I said, we had some pretty windy days, but you can tell we were pretty confident with the gear. Like we did a day before we saw the forecast sort of 5 days out for what the world was going to be, and it was actually windier. We did this day 5 days out, sort of like gale force winds in the harbour. It was like 40 knots.
Yeah.
And we were like, big fella's like, you're going to go out there and do it. We want you to have confidence in going out and having a crack. And we went out and we had a few swims early, and then by the end of it, he was like, all right, I want you to do bear away, jibe, drop, turn up. And we did about 50 of them in like 40 knots, 35 to 40 knots of wind. And we came in, we broke something, and not to do with the rig. It was to do with where we've carbon on these blocks onto the crossbars for the winch setup, and we actually the last turn down, we did a turn down into the club, and we blew that out, but that was nothing to do with the rigs. It was just we were sort of lucky to have that done. I think Sean Langman actually broke one of them in the race, in the regatta stuff, and we came away with that, knowing if that's the only thing that's going to break down in 40 knots, we're pretty confident with the gears going to, hold up. So we had good confidence of all the stuff going into the regatta. We gave it a good workout, and nothing broke, so it was good.
Was it Shaw and Partners that broke a 2-rig? Was it? Yeah,
there was a few break. I think John O'Witty broke a rig. Yeah, I don't know. There was some funny theories. People were sort of letting their rig tension off downwind. And I think there was a lot of inversion happening with the rigs, and I don't know why they were doing it. I don't think it's very good, but I think that's most of the reason the rig. I don't know Short Partners. I think that's why John and Whitty's rig snapped, but I don't know exactly the reason for Short Partners. But
it says something on the commentary about the D1, maybe the D1 fitting shearing off or something. I don't know if it's our rig or even.
But I know I spoke to Jono, and he saw a few photos of him, and I think the rig tension came undone and then obviously inverted downwind, and I think that's where it snapped just above the hounds, I think it was. So.
Yeah, that's all right. That's a CST, right?
One spreader. That's a one spreader rig as well.
Oh, okay. Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, from my side, the one spread had its moments. You used one for a couple of years, didn't you?
Yeah, we used a one spreader rig. I think there's potential in them. We had the same problem though. To be honest, the reason we didn't like it was the downwind. So the top, you couldn't support the head downwind, so the tip would always invert.
Yeah.
And then it made a big effect on your luff length of the spinnaker downwind.
Okay, yeah.
But that was I think upwind, there's no problems with it. But I think the inversion, I think you need the other spreader to support the top, mainly for downwind, for the inversion downwind. We sort of struggled downwind a lot. The main was too deep. So your rig would be too straight, and then your main would be too deep downwind.
Yeah.
And that was, and then your luff's obviously too long, so that was the reason we didn't like it. I don't think there's any problems with the upwind, but the downwind was the reason for that.
They all sort of ended up smashing those rigs, didn't they? Like Lehman broke.
I think Big Phil ended up buying one actually. He bought one from the club. Only he's building this new boat. And he's just doing a demo with the rigs, just as a prototype, just playing around, cutting it up, But yeah, I don't think that Jono's the only one. I think it's got one spreader rig at the moment.
Yeah, okay.
Is this contest the most dominant that you've ever been compared to any of the previous ones you've done?
I think we had one year where we ended up winning every race except for one, I think, back in the 7 days. But it definitely didn't feel like it was as dominant as the results looked like. We were pretty pushed. Tech 2 did a very good job. This regatta, there was, I think there was a year a while ago that, it was probably, we had bigger margins in the leads, but I know we had good scores, but, it never felt comfortable. It was sort of, as you know, it was the windy day, so you're always on your toes keeping the boat upright. Yeah. And then we have a lot of those windward leeward sprints now, so, if you get caught back in the pack there, it's hard to catch up. Yeah. We were lucky, fortunate, we sort of had good starts in those races, and I think we were always up there at the top mark. We made a few little errors downwind in a few races, but, in those sprint races, you got to be on your game to sort of make sure you don't get caught back in the pack, and then it's hard to catch up.
It's always pretty hard coming out of Rose Bay when you don't know which side of the island you want to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Nightmare.
So it was a lot different that week with all the fresh water on top of it, with all the floods. Like the tides were, some of the tides were like changing 2 hours earlier than they've ever had before, because there was so much drainage on the way out. So it was a little bit different, and that's why the right side of the island worked a lot of the time, even when the tide was coming in, which is unheard of normally, but that was mainly the reason. It was, so it was different. It was different for everyone, every race, that regatta.
Yeah. What else we got now?
Well, I guess the other thing is kind of the rig acceleration and how the boat feels as in terms of helm compared to what you're used to. Is the boat as easy to steer, or is it sort of harder to steer? Because you've sort of got a stiff rig and it could bind up easily, but did you feel like it was going to get up and go, or did you feel like it was binding up a bit at times?
Well, the big rigs are always, you got to muscle them a fair bit. It's funny, I've sailed with a few 49er guys over the years, and 49 is a boat you got to rip. You got to let the boat rip. Yeah. And I've done the sheet for the Phillips brothers, who are obviously very good sailors. They represented Australia in the Olympics for us, the last games, and I did the sheet for them, and they had this super rip mode, and it just doesn't work on these boats because you're just so overpowered. The main's just always inside out if you sail that low, and you've actually got to sail these boats, the big rig especially. The little rig you can, it's a lot lighter, so you can rip a little bit more, but you definitely have to sail a lot higher and have the main, you can't have the main too eased on those boats, otherwise you just end up not bending the rig and the main becomes too deep. So you need sort of main sheet load so I sort of like to sail a little bit higher than on these boats. That's the biggest thing I've learned over the years. As the sails have got bigger, you've obviously got more power, and you have to sail that little bit higher. Generally, obviously, if it's tactical reasons, you sail faster mode, but that's the main thing that I got out of, the bigger sail era.
Do you think that the rig is more automatic than the ones that you were used to sailing on 7?
Different, totally different. I think back then they were a lot softer rigs compared to what we have now. And towards the end of 7, they're quite similar, a little bit similar, but you need, as I said, the stiff rigs now to support the sail area of the big sails. So, you're going through a lot more range. Also, you're not going through a lot more range. The old rigs you could change so easy because they're a lot softer. These, you have to depower a lot. You've got to be able to go. That's with the new wing system. You've got to be able to depower, the rigs because the sail area is so big. So that's the main thing that we've got. But yeah.
Yeah, well, big rig used to take it up to. I remember sailing a few races and big rig would win in 18 to 20 knots quite often.
Exactly. You can. That's unheard of now. Yeah. We're sort of changing like 12 to 13 knots. So.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Kiwis haven't been able to make it to the last few JJs, but are you looking forward to competing against them again soon?
Yeah, I would. I wish they were all here. But Worlds to go against them this year. But hopefully, I don't know. I think next year I'll probably end up being back on the sheet with Herman. So we're looking forward to it. If the Euros all come out, it'll be great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Our fleet's a little bit fallen over here at the moment. No one,
really?
Yeah, not many people sailing, if at all. So
yeah. our season just finished. I think that was the last week, last Sunday.
Oh yeah, yeah. You get out
Really?
you get out with your skirt on, did you?
What's that?
You get out with your skirt on.
Get up with the what?
With the skirt, yeah.
No, we didn't end up staying with all the guys. They're over at the Sail GP now. So Sam's over, and then Matty's doing the shore crew for the Australian team as well. So we didn't end up going out on Sunday, but
Sweet.
All good.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. Yeah.
Cool. That's me all done.
All good.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No worries. No, thanks for all your help.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let us know about those ideas and what we need to think about for next year. If you got some ideas to
Definitely.
to do some improvements.
Thank you very much for that. It's been awesome. We'll keep in touch.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much.
See you.
Thanks for your time.